Buffalo comes away victorious, 34-28. Big time comeback from them. When we look at the top 5 graded players, I'll start with the Buffalo Bills for the top 5 graded players. Greg Rousseau, we talked about him needing a really big year for the Buffalo Bills. He is their highest graded player at an 87.2 from this past game. You flip sides to the other side of the trenches. Deion Dawkins, 79.6. Khalil Shakir, who was going to step up at wide receiver for this Buffalo Bills team? It looked like it was Khalil Shakir who had the highest grade there. Your boy James Cook with a 76.4. David Edwards, another shout out along the offensive line. And then Josh Allen, a 75.0. But, man, he was just responsible for so much of what they were doing. It wasn't perfect from Josh Allen, but certainly they won this game off the backs of him, and they're going to do that throughout the entire season there.
Yeah, I agree. And Allen's the centerpiece of it, but I think you mentioned Shakir, and I think it's the entire group of wide receivers that stepped up for them. And that's really my story for this, my stat that tells the story for this game. Bills wide receivers a 76.2 receiving grade. Now, is that world beating? No. Is there any singular guy that teed off? No. But you had 5 different receivers with at least a 67 receiving grade. Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Mac Hollins, Curtis Samuel, and even Marquez Valdez-Scantling, the 5th guy who only caught 1 ball, but he's a guy who brought a changeup. The 1 ball he caught. 3 tight ends on the field, deep drop play action, 15-yard curl. It's things like that schematically that they can use all of these guys for and all these different skill sets. I think the Bills' receiving core is better than the sum of his parts because you've got Allen throwing them the ball. You've got Joe Brady, who, look, they played the second half of last season with this same mindset. Stephon Diggs got less targets. They spread the ball around more. They ran the ball more. They have Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. You think about it. You throw in these 5 guys and the 2 tight ends, and James Cook, and Ray Davis, for that matter, who I thought looked good in limited action yesterday. They have nine guys they feel comfortable throwing the ball to. I don't think every team in the NFL can say that. And then you have Josh Allen throwing them the ball. So I was just really impressed with the Bills wide receivers. I think this was a huge story coming in. I wasn't as worried about it as some were. I think this is a talented group, even though it doesn't have a Tyreek Hill or a Justin Jefferson. When you have Josh Allen at the center of it, and these are at least good players. Shakir's a good player. Obviously, Curtis Samuel's been at least a decent player for a long time. Keon Coleman is a borderline. Did you have a first-round grade on him? I don't remember, but he's
no, but still
a borderline first-round pick that went early in the second, and a guy they believe in. He could have gone in the first round. I think they have a balanced group, and I think it's just a continuation of the hot streak that they had the second half of last season. Will there be games where you go, man, I really wish we had a Justin Jefferson or maybe even a Stephon Diggs? Yeah, but I think this receiver unit's greater than the sum of its parts.
Coleman ended up leading the team in targets, catches, and receiving yards. So, he didn't yield the highest PFF grade, but that's something that you like to see is really getting him to warmed up already this season. Let's look at Arizona's top 5 grades, and that'll kind of get into what my stat that told the story was for the Arizona Cardinals. The top graded player, we start on the defensive side of the football for the Arizona Cardinals, linebacker Mack Wilson Sr., a fantastic 87.9 overall grade. Then Zaven Collins, the resurgence of Zaven Collins, switches over to the edge full time. He was an off-ball linebacker. He was drafted as an off-ball linebacker, but bigger for that position. They end up moving him to the edge because he really wasn't playing well as an off-ball guy. Now they move him on the ball, 85.8 grade. That's a great start to this season. And first time he played that position full time was last year, and it was his best grades as a result. So you love to see that. Paris Johnson Jr., you and I talked about him needing to be a big-time player for them when we were going through our division previews. This guy, and he ended the year last year. From week 10 on, he was playing some really good ball, 83.9 grade. I think that might be his best single-game grade. I don't have it right in front of me, but if it's not, it's got to be close. Will Hernandez playing well. Greg Dortch really being able to step up, get a lot of targets. We see Kyler Murray there with a 75.6 PFF grade on the day. The stat that told the story for me was a tale of two halves from the Arizona Cardinals, specifically on the offensive side of things. At one point, the Cardinals led this game 17-3. And when you look at how this offense was humming in the first half, okay, EPA per pass, 0.619. That is high. That's a very, very high mark.
Lethal, yeah.
EPA per rush, 0.212. Also extremely high for an EPA per rush. Then you get to the second half, passing all of a sudden goes from a major positive for them to a negative 0.604, which is truly opposite end of the spectrum. And then the EPA per rush, it was still all right. It was still in the positives. It was a 0.124. Shout out to James Conner for that. But it was just way too night and day for the Cardinals passing the football in the first half versus the second half. This team was 2-5 in one-score games in 2023. They played teams tight last year. I think they were very competitive, but this is something that you've got to be able to instill within the DNA of your team. You can't keep giving up these big leads. You can't be able to start the game well and not be able to finish it well. It cannot be that big of a gap between how well you're playing in the first half and how bad you're playing in the second. Teams adjust. I get it. I want to give the Bills credit for that, no doubt about it. But it can't be that vast from how they played. It was truly a tale of two halves from the Cardinals, and they've just got to be much better at closing out games and honestly playing with leads. And I think that that's something they'll be able to get more of as they are more talented this year, but it's going to be important for them. Real quick, most impressive, most disappointing, who you got?
Give me our Bills' most impressive player, their highest graded player, Greg Rousseau. For a Bills defense that struggled a lot of the day, he was fantastic. 87.2 pass rush grade, 4 pressures, 3 sacks, and a strip sack of Kyler Murray. He was the dominant force in this game. I thought Von Miller looked good off the other edge too, but Rousseau was far and away their most impressive player. I'll go to the other side with most disappointing. We did not see. We need witness protection or something from Marvin Harrison Jr.
Dude, what happened?
3 targets, 1 catch, 4 yards, and a drop. And honestly, when I went and watched it this morning, there was a lot of plays where he was finding his way open. I don't know that Kyler Murray trusts him yet. It just, there's a lot of plays where it looks like Harrison is not the first read. He's on the backside as the X receiver, and it's just they haven't figured out how to make him the primary guy yet. I don't think it's just Harrison and some inability to get open. There's nothing about his ability that worries me. I think it's just they have to work him into the game plan more. And I just do wonder, he got basically no reps in the preseason. I believe he played three snaps in the preseason. I just wonder if there's some sort of just lack of live game action that plays a part in this, and needing to see him more, and then just needing to look to him more. I do think it's a team thing, but they're not going to win a ton of games with Marvin Harrison only making 1 catch for 4 yards.
Yeah, people in the chat asking what Marvin Harrison Jr.'s grade was. 45.8 receiving grade from this past day. He had the most receiving snaps on the team. This is probably the most shocking part to me. Most receiving snaps on the team, and yet a wide receiver usage, or we call it threat percentage, of just 8.3%. Now, to just give you guys some context, if you are one of the top receivers on your team, you're getting something like within the mid-20s. Like guys like Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, they can get in the low 30s sometimes. And so for Marvin Harrison Jr. to play 36 receiving snaps and only get 8.3% of a wide receiver usage, which is how often you are targeted when you are running routes, dude, that was very, very shocking to me. So I think that it's naturally going to be better for him, but I couldn't agree with you more. It just doesn't feel like he trusts him, because he was out there plenty for that to be the case, and it's just going to still be a work in progress there. My most impressive, you mentioned a little bit of it, Josh Allen. He has to be the most impressive in this game. I mentioned if the Bills are going to succeed this season with this roster the way that it is, he's going to have an MVP caliber season, and it felt like he took a step in that direction, certainly with a nice comeback win and to defend things at home. Another most disappointing, though, Dalton Kincaid, sort of the same story as Marvin Harrison Jr. This is somebody who we thought could really get the lion's share of the targets, and he absolutely didn't. 2 targets, 1 catch, 11 yards on the day. He had an even lower wide receiver usage percentage than Marvin Harrison did. 4%? You draft this guy in the first round. How's he getting 4% of the targets on the routes that he was running?
I would have to go in and look at the Bills' personnel usage, because a lot of it for Kincaid comes situationally. 1, Dawson Knox is healthy, and Kincaid really emerged last year when Knox was hurt. And 2, when that did happen, they were in a lot more 11 personnel, and Kincaid was the tight end in 11 personnel. So I'd have to look at how they – I think that's going to be a week-to-week thing. I think Kincaid is more of a fluky thing and kind of a game plan thing. You're going to see somebody different, I think, on this Bills team every single week. I wouldn't be shocked at all if there's a week
that could be, but 4%?
Oh, no, you would think, especially against the Cardinals defense that gives up a lot, that he would get something. But I just think that's going to be the nature of this Bills offense. When you have 9 different targets you could rely on, somebody's going to get left short. And it was this week for Kincaid. But I would expect that there's a week coming soon that he'll have 100 yards, because he's really talented, and we saw it last year.